for murdering his girlfriend and unborn child. He said, "Pregnant women are revered and protected in our society. The protection extends to women, be it they are pregnant or not, be it they are young or old." He continued to say, "Watinda bafazi, watindi mohonke," which means you strike a woman, you strike a monk. He said, if the accused has never heard of it, you must try to remember it. And also in an earlier matter that was held in Potchefstroom Magistrate Court, which was later referred into this honorable court, the sentencing of Isaac Kune, who knew he was HIV positive when he raped the 2 young girls. Justice George Webster said that he cannot find no reason to consider, even 1 second, that there are compelling circumstances to send Isaac Kune to jail for life. He added, "I hope in future you will examine yourself and find in you some inner goodness and regret what you have done to these innocent children. Children should be loved and should be cherished." He pointed out that women have the right to privacy and to walk where they please without being molested. South African Black Women in Law is an international organization that celebrates South Africa, blacks, women, and law. We are founded upon dignity, equality, and freedoms infused in the philosophy of Ubuntu and Zen. And Justice George Webster was the epitome of that. And we will continue celebrating his life for all the impact that he had in the society, for making sure that women and children's rights are protected and justice is served. May his soul continue to rest in peace.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jobu, for the remarks. I appreciate your participation and those remarks. Thank you. Could I then invite Advocate Shaba SC from the other advocate?
All collectively second imposition status and capacity permit me to express our heartfelt condolences on behalf of the Pretoria Society of Advocates, historically known as the Pretoria Bar, its members and its leadership. Maybe I should take this opportunity to invite the family and all to remember the ways of our world icon and founding president of the Democratic Republic of South Africa, who ought to be known by all as a matter of common course. Once said that when a person has done his duties and fulfilled his obligations to himself, his family, his community, and maybe most importantly, in the case of the late, to the judiciary and his beloved country, then such person must be allowed to rest in peace. As members of the Pretoria Society of Advocates, we did not have any special relationship with the late. Neither did we expect any such special or any extraordinary relationship. All that we expected from him as junior practitioners and senior practitioners and members of our society was wisdom from his side, knowledge, skill, and open-mindedness to deliver sound judgments without fear, favor, or prejudice. In conclusion, let me just state 2 things that have to keep the family going in a painful moment like this. The first thing is that, yes, death is painful, but sorrow shared always becomes lighter. And I'm trying to believe that here, half of the society of Gauteng, make sure that we support his family and all those related to him by marriage and that make the pain that they are going through be lighter. At the risk of preaching, then I'm not supposed to. The last conclusion. Time, and only time to the family, I say, will heal you. It may not matter who may say what during this trying time that you are going through. But I know for a fact that time, and only time, will heal you. When it happened, it's not like today. It's not going to be like it happened today when you bid him a final farewell. And after 2 months, 3 months, a year, and so, the pain shall have been loosened. And that will be indicative of the fact that time, only time, will heal you as a family.
Thank you very much, Advocate Shala, from the University Advocate. Let me next invite Advocate Esther Karim, who then be the Director of Public Prosecutions, Housing Division.
Thank you to the Honorable Judge President, the Honorable Deputy Judge President, the Judge of the Constitutional Court, and our retired judges, senior judges, and all protocols observed. I am here representing the Director of Public Prosecutions, Advocate Mzinyati, and NPA as a whole. We as the NPA were really honored to have worked with Justice Webster. Justice Webster presided over our matters here in this court in Pretoria, in the Limpopo division before it was rationalized to Limpopo, and also in the Delmas circuit before it was rationalized to Mpumalanga. The Honorable Justice Webster served us with distinctions in all our courts, and he was mostly the most accessible of all the judges at that time, who was willing to mentor any inexperienced prosecutor who appeared before him. When prosecuting before him, he would also not easily accept any argument presented before him unless such argument was supported by relevant case law or relevant statute. We, as the NPA, are grateful for his contribution to our jurisprudence. I personally also had an opportunity to appear before Justice Webster, and it was at the Delma Circuit Court, and our interpreter, Mr. Manzini, was the one interpreting for us. So, as I was well known, after we had adjourned court in the afternoon, we found ourselves together at our parking area, as all of us know that the Delma Circuit Court is a little bit small. Something happened today that I did not realize as a young Ndebele girl who was raised in the rural area, that I didn't realize. And I just saw Mr. Manzini giggling and laughing out so loud because he realized that what was happening there, I had no idea as to what was happening, and I'm not going to tell you today. But as I have already indicated, we as the NPA are grateful, especially our organized crime component, because most of the matters of our organized crime component were presided over by him. So as the NPA, we are quite grateful for his contribution in our jurisprudence. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Advocate. Even if Webster may have shown you secrecy, one day you will tell us. Let me next invite the Advocate Fund to hold this seat. Representatives from the General Council of the Court.
My pleasure, Judge President, Deputy Judge Presidents, judges, all protocols observed. I had the fortune to meet Judge Webster the first week when he was appointed the judge in this division, and I experienced him as a man with no nonsense. He was simple, he was straightforward, he didn't thought he was better than other people, he didn't have this grandeur about himself, and was always prepared to help and to lend a helping hand. I frequently and often harassed him in urgent court, and one of these occasions I was acting for a respondent, and like in all my matters I had an excellent case because there was absolutely no grounds for urgency, and I hopped onto that bandwagon and I was beating that drum, and Judge Webster just looked at me and he didn't make a note, and he said to me after 10 minutes, my breath was out because I made all the fancy submissions. He said, the applicant is here in person. Look at you. Look what you're busy doing. Everything that you say is, as always, correct. But I've read the papers. I know exactly what should be done. Don't you just want to sit down, take a deep breath, and see what's going to happen in this court? And that is how he was. One day we had Friday afternoon, those typical 4 o'clock applications. And when the order came back from the registrar's office, we realized there was a mistake on the order, a serious mistake. So we ran back to his chambers, and luckily he was there. And we said to him, we can't find any other registrar this hour of the day. Can't you please sign the order? He said, yes, what happened? I said, no, there was a mistake. And I took out my fancy long pen and gave it to him. He looked at it, he says, what's that? I said, this is a pen, you must sign it. He says, no, I can't work with that fancy things. Where's my big pen? And he took his big pen and he signed it. Judge Webster displayed a very keen interest in family law, especially to be children is involved and the vulnerable. And I was fortunate enough, Simone, to move your application to be admitted as an advocate of this court. Dad phoned me the next day and he said to me, Curtis, I'm concerned. I said, Judge, what's wrong? He says 2 things. Do you think this girl did the right thing to join the bar? And secondly, will she ever make it? I said, Judge, it's always the right thing to join the bar. And don't worry, we will look after. As always, my submission turned out to be correct. Simone, thirdly, on behalf of the General Council of the Bar, our sincere condolences. Your dad's heritage, his passion, his the manner in which he conducted himself, may that live in your hearts as a flame, and let his passion be a light for your way in future. On behalf of the General Council of the Bar, please accept our sincere condolences. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Advocate Curtis. Remarks. Let me now invite Advocate Simone Mlambo, Judge Webster's partner, to represent the family and offer the family remarks.
Good afternoon, Judge President, Deputy Judge President, retired judges. It's so wonderful to see your faces, and sitting judges as well. I feel almost naked standing here today in my capacity as a daughter and not as an advocate in my role, but I think this is a very special occasion and in a way, a more final way of saying goodbye to my dad, our dad. Many wonderful things have been said about my father this morning by a lot of people, but I think if there's one thing that we can agree with, is that he was a consummate gentleman. He had a jovial sense of humor, even if it was high grade and most people didn't understand it and went right over their heads, as was so often the case in unopposed motion courts. And he had a strong sense for social justice. That was my dad. And one of the many anecdotes that I could tell, but one that sticks squarely in my mind was whenever he was in unopposed motion court and prior to the amendment of the rules of court insofar as the executability of immovable property is concerned, he would always, towards the colder months of the year, say to counsel, I am inclined to grant your order. And he'd cock his head to one side, and his smile would spread across your face, and his counsel would be like, oh no, I know what's coming. And he'd say, counsel, it's getting colder. How about we suspend the executability of the property for a while? Let's let these people live in their home just for now whilst it's cold, and once it's warmer, we can go. And you as counsel couldn't say, no, your attorney certainly having a heart attack, but you as counsel were like, yes, Judge, 100%. That was my dad. And it stems from his humble upbringing in a rural, small city in York, New Hanover, just out of Pietermaritzburg. He grew up with 9 siblings, 3 sisters, and 6 brothers. And every morning before he cycled 15 kilometers to school in Pietermaritzburg, he would assist in taking the cattle out of the floor, taking them out to the fields, coming back home, getting dressed for school, getting onto his bike. I know he was larger later in life, but believe me, he was very fit and very slim, riding to school every single day. And that passion and determination is something that obviously everybody who ever knew him knows was part of him, and then also as a big time. I think one of the main things that we will all remember about him, as mentioned by many other people, is his compassion for people and his willingness to teach. I remember while studying, he refused to let me do a straight LLB. He will not do that. He will study a Bachelor of Science.
will understand. Deep sense of sadness. Webster had the privilege of being no less than period of our lives. Practice in the tennis together, working for different firms initially, later teamed up under the name and style Bakwa, Moloto, Zimande, Webster, and Mbuli in 1986. That was a time when the apartheid regime was most aggressive and oppressive, and we joined hands as we believed together we were stronger, not only rendering professional services, but also as a bulwark against the oppressor. Practicing law had, at that time, turned into a terrain of struggle. Only Justice Moloto, recently retired from the World Court, and myself remained from that partnership. George was a strong, fearless, and dependable asset, not only in the partnership, but also in his private life with friends and family. As it happened, our ties went beyond our professional relationship. We became friends, and so did our families. George loved life and good food. He was loved by all and sundry. He was a man of the people, to whom he was committed to render a lifetime of service. He earned the respect of friend and foe alike. These are just some of the qualities that made him more than a worthy member of our partnership. I have no doubt that these are some of the qualities recognized by the JSC when they appointed him to the Gauteng division of the High Court of South Africa, which I later joined after him. This constituted the second phase of our collegial life. We shall recall the so-called Magoo Bar bombing at Durban, beachfront, in which George's younger brother, Gordon, who was a member of Umkhonto Sizwe, was involved. George was detained by the apartheid regime because he was suspected to have aided his escape from Edendale Hospital when he was hoisted with drips and pipes hanging out by a certain McBride and company. And I see that McBride is present here in the hospital. And it does come from the same area as mentioned by Judge's daughter, called York, New Hanover, a few kilometers from Pietermaritzburg. That was the time when the regime lured friends, comrades, and even family members and intimidated them into betraying each other. George was held in solitary confinement for 4 months, but he remained steadfast and upheld his human dignity in those inhuman conditions. He was not intimidated. He never broke down. He did not blink. Such was the nature of the man. On the lighter side, George was an extremely pleasant and easygoing individual. He was steadily built, as you know, with some girth. The girth became of some concern to his wife, Lucy, who sought to address it by preparing tasty but light sandwich meals, which the compliant George brought to the office for lunch. But lo and behold, no sooner had he arrived at the office that he put in an order for some tasty funny chow. Sure, you know what funny chow is. It's a half a loaf of bread, hollowed out, gravy and meat put inside and then closed. That's what we had for breakfast. This delicacy was plentiful in the restaurants around Grey Street, where our offices were located. But as you would expect, what happened in Lakani Chambers, where our offices were, stayed in Lakani Chambers. The family, and Lucy in particular, were never wiser in that regard. I'm certain George will forgive me for breaking that confidentiality today on this occasion. I would like to thank the Judge President and family for arranging and giving us this opportunity to pay a tribute to our beloved friend and brother. In closing, we are celebrating a life that was well lived. Judge George has rendered a service, as you heard, to this country and to humanity and to all of us. He did what he had to do. He ran a good race in difficult circumstances. We express our deepest condolences to the family represented here by his daughters, and may so rest in peace. And thank you.
Thank you very much, Comrade. I appreciate your remarks. You had the fortune of working with him in practice and as judicial brothers. Thank you for agreeing to speak today. I now pass the mic on to Justice Jeremiah Shomwe, who was the Deputy Judge President at the time when Judge Webster was the judge in this division. Judge Shomwe, or DJP, and Justice Shomwe.
Thank you, JP. AP, the Webster family, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to thank the JP and the family, Webster family, for arranging this occasion. Let me say to the family of George, Justice George, may his soul rest in peace. As we pay homage to our beloved colleague, father, brother, uncle, friend, husband, and remembering the wonderful times we shared with him. We should be mindful that the Almighty lend us His company. It has been said that He ran His race and He reached the finish line. We have to remember that the lives that we have are borrowed. That life is short, that we should do whatever we wish to do in this short space of time, the best, give it the best we can. Judge Webster was shaped by the socio-economic environment in which he grew up. As it has been said, that he was a very humorous person. That is all I remember on his face, the humor. He was a true leader who served his community until his untimely illness and untimely death. He was an activist and did not shy away from his social and community responsibilities. Now, I know George as a renowned person. Simone has just indicated that he used to cycle 15 kilometers. Well, I would accept your version of the figure. My version is that it is 12 kilometers. He used to credit his fitness to the fact that he walked and cycled back home and back to school for 15 kilometers. But as I said, that my version is 12 kilometers. He doesn't made. We have heard that he wasn't shy in consuming food, whatever was placed before him. I met Judge Webster in 2001, January, when the term started. That was the first time I met him in this court. But because we were puny judges who were exposed to a new and intimidating environment, we decided with some colleagues, some are still alive, again, and the portals in Israel at a later stage. We decided to have a lunch group. It was a working lunch. What we used to do was to meet together in one of the chambers, start talking about the matters that were before us, advising each other as to the strategies that one would use to approach matters. As I said, the atmosphere and the environment was not that friendly. It was indeed a hostel, but we had to come together and do the best we could at that time. I remember at one stage, a couple of days after we had arrived in Pretoria from different parts of the country, one Justice Chris Gordon called us and said, "Boys, come together, let me take you pictures, because in a few months, you won't be looking as smart as you look now." He took the pictures, and as you go through the passage, you'll see the pictures of some of us, quite different from what we are today. And that is not because of anything, but because of the amount of work that this court carries. But we survived. JP, I wish to thank you for arranging this meeting, memorial service, to the family of Webster. Be strong. All that is happening has happened before. Thank you. And his soul rest in peace.
Thank you very much, former DAP. Shombe. Before I render my closing remarks, Judge Kufati, where are you? Could you arrange the handover of the flowers to the family, please? You do it in the field. Okay, no problem. I respect that. You see, that's the kind of thing that people dictate things to you. Colleagues, I want to take you back to the remarks that Judge President Shongwe made about them coming into a hostile environment as new judges suggested. You see, we should not stop mentioning these facts because they are there. If you look at the people sitting in front of you, especially where I'm sitting, we were all unfit and unqualified. First, to study at so-called white universities. Two, to become judges. George was in this league. And it is no surprise that he and his family took up the cudgels to fight the apartheid system because we knew that we were no less equal to anyone else. And lo and behold, look at us sitting here. I'm sitting with two former DJPs, one current JP, one constitutional court justice, and many judges. The heavens haven't fallen. We're still running the judiciary. In fact, this division continues to lead the pack in terms of developing the jurisprudence of this country in line with our constitution. So I'm saying, when Judge Webster in his young years fought the apartheid regime, he wanted to make sure that him asking his daughter to know what food would have said some 600 years before would become true about him. George wrote a number of judgments that made it to the law reports. And mind you, I will say this, when we joined the bench, there were those who wanted to relegate our judgments as unfit to be reported, to be read by everyone else. But we broke that glass ceiling as well. I'm saying this, Advocate van der Walt and the family, just to buttress the point that in 100 years from now, some law student in South Africa or in the Netherlands or in the US will read a judgment written by a certain George Webster from the Transvaal Provincial Division, later the Gauteng Division. You see, those of us who were studying law at that time, where no university semester would end without us being chased around by apartheid police for being involved in demonstration of one sort or another. We wanted to make sure that we change the complexion of the judgments we were reading and studying for our law degrees. And George achieved that. But I think you as a family deserve to be congratulated. You see, as I say, he lives on. He may be gone, it's tough on you, but he lives on in the law reports. He lives on in this division. And he retired, but this division took a policy decision that, irrespective of whether a judge has retired, we will approach the family when that judge passes away to say, would they permit us to hold a ceremonial sitting? Because we don't think that if you are retired, you are no longer with us. We are brothers and sisters for life. And I'm happy that you agree that we should hold this ceremonial sitting. Because this is our way, those of us who worked with him. I remember on the odd occasion when George owed me a judgment, I would chase very hard to find him. And then I knew that the best time to find him is lunchtime. Because he'd be sitting in his chamber enjoying his meal. And then I would walk in, and the one remarkable thing is he would say, he would refuse to speak English with me. He'd say, Wemlang, Funa, what do you want? And I say, Brother George, that judgment. He said, you'd point me at a corner. I said, count 5 files down and find the file there. I'll find it. I'll bring it because you'd be sitting down. I'll give it to him. He'll look at it. He said, okay, let's talk in the next 2 months because I hope to have done it. But right now I'm having my lunch, if you don't mind. That's George. Those of you who appeared in his courts, like Advocate Kabini said, if he realized that you were tying knots around yourself because of the English language, not being good at it, he would stop you and say, talk in Zulu, I will understand. That's the man, you know. So he lives on. He lives on in our midst. And thank you very much for allowing us this opportunity to pay our farewell the judicial way to him. And with those remarks, I would like to bring these proceedings to a close. And thank you, all of you. Ms. Ndlovu, South African women-in-law, are you still here? Please make time to make an appointment with this judge president and the 2 DJPs of this division to sit and see what programs, in addition to those we have in this decision, of how we can advance the cause of women-in-law. It's an invitation I'm making in public because I know I will live up to it. With those remarks, colleagues, members of the family, in particular, Mr. McBride, thanks for being here. I would like to adjourn this proceeding. Thank you very much. Court shall adjourn.